All-Star game is next weekend. Calendar really squeezes the NBA with these All-Star games. It's way too late to have one, but there isn't much they really can do about it. With the NFL last weekend, the NHL, the championship weekend, they want to sort of have their own little deal, so they have it after they play 80 games. But hey, so be it. They come back for 2, and then we start the playoffs. Here's PJ Carlesimo, long time no chat. We'll go through a couple of these games as we begin hour 3 and these teams. PJ, it's always a pleasure. How are you today, pal? Okay?
Excellent, dog. How are you?
Doing well, and there really isn't much they can do about the All-Star game, is it, PJ? I mean, they're going to play about 60 games. What weekend could you have it, for crying out loud?
Well, I mean, they would have to go really the other way, but there's a couple of factors. You mentioned the other sports, which are obviously critical. They all want to have their own weekend, just to have the attention and make it easy on us, frankly, in the media. But it's also a product of Adam Silver doing what the Players Association wanted and what was really needed in terms of opening the schedule up. They've shortened the preseason. They've started earlier, so this is the most games I ever remember. I mean, guys are crawling to the All-Star break right now. It didn't matter even in the old days. You always were looking forward. That last couple of weeks before you got to the break, you were kind of saying, "Man, I just need to make it to the break and charge the batteries up." Now it's a longer break, which is good, but when you start early, just the sheer amount of games that have already been played is just very unusual. So you got a lot of tired teams and a lot of guys and coaches, for that matter, can't wait for the break.
Yeah, and it's really, again, unless they play this past weekend when they can save themselves a week, but that's the week, not this past weekend, this weekend coming up, but that's only a week after the Super Bowl, so they're in a very tricky spot if they want some publicity. All right, let's go through some clubs, PJ. I'm interested on your thoughts. Obviously, the big gorilla in the room with the Cavaliers. I don't care, how bad their defense is or what have you. If you have LeBron James on your team, you should not be this bad over a long period of time. I mean, whether they play defense, whether Randy Crowder or Jameel Crowder can't do anything, or Thomas is shooting 30%, I'm not interested. If you have LeBron on, it can't be this bad over this extended period of time. It's been over a month. What's up with the Cavaliers? What can you tell me? Let's start there.
I've got no clue. I wish I could tell you something. I haven't had them in person. I've watched them a bunch on TV. I was actually supposed to have them with Boston this weekend, but I got changed. I've got Spurs Warriors instead on Saturday. I'm baffled. Yeah, it's become a yearly soap opera that they fired the big trade with New York one year. They fire the coach the next year. They stumble. They go on these little walkabouts and lose 6-7 games, but not like this, dog. This is unbelievable. I mean, they're just getting drilled. They look very, very listless, playing with no energy. The quotes are terrible quotes. I mean, unfortunately now there's so much scrutiny. There's so much with the social media and with the access that we in the media have. I don't like the quotes coming out of there. I don't like anything about it. And it's very strange because it's not just Bron. It's still a good roster. I'm not saying it's the best roster in the NBA, but it's a very talented roster. There's a lot of veteran players. It just, for whatever reason, the pieces are not fitting together. And, you said it doesn't matter. You can talk about IT not playing most of the year, or Jay Crowder, or their defense isn't good. It doesn't matter. That team can't play the way they're playing. They can't. I mean, last night's it just, every game is a perfect example. They had almost a 20-point lead against an Orlando team that's not one of the better teams in the entire NBA, and they end up getting embarrassed. And it makes no sense. Obviously, there's something going on behind the scenes. The chemistry is horrible right now. I'm still saying a week ago, dog, I don't care how they look. They're going to get it together. I mean, I've seen, too much of this the past years, but it's not. This is way worse than it's been any of the other years. 2-3 weeks ago, I was saying, don't worry, they'll get it sorted out. They'll start playing. And if there's been a team in the league the last couple of years that's been able to flip the switch, the cliche that, you say you can't do this, you can't play up and down all year and just flip a switch when it comes to playoffs, they've done it. If they do it this year, it'd be one of the more incredible acts I've ever seen. I just think there's not much time left The trade deadline's tomorrow, but I'm going to be surprised if they stand pat with that team the way they're playing right now.
Well, the key there, PJ, is the number one pick. That's the Nets pick. It's the Celtics, but it's the Nets pick. Now, the Nets are going to be in the lottery. They're not going to have the most ping pong balls, and the lottery is now weighted, so maybe that gives them a little better chance. Maybe they're going to get a high pick. We're going to very well see what they do. If you were running that team, you got LeBron on it. It's very complicated. He could leave. Would you use that pick to make a big trade for this year, or would you keep that pick and then just, let the chips fall where they may this year and what LeBron does in the offseason? It's a very tough call for the organization. What would PJ Carlesimo do?
Well, the first thing is LeBron, the conversation with LeBron and what, because, let's be honest, that the situation is unique there. LeBron has more to say about that franchise than any individual in any pro sport. Forget the NBA. So the first thing is to get on the same page with LeBron. Look, what does he want to do? What's the chances of re-signing him? I think you have to do whatever it takes to ensure or to give yourself the best chance of him staying there, because he's still got a lot in the tank. He's still capable of, I'm reading people like, slow down this. He's the problem on defense. Forget about it. He's still as dominant a player as there is in the NBA. And he said no one plays better when it matters than he does. But having said that, I'll tell you what, I don't know how much you've seen DeAndre Ayton, the freshman for Arizona.
I hear he's a great player, right? He's tremendous, this kid.
LeBron is 1A is that pick. I would not move that pick unless somehow they feel that's the only way to ensure or to leverage and make sure that LeBron stays. Because if you don't I love Ayton. I would take him number one without even hesitating. And that pick is too valuable. And, as you said, it's weighted. There's no guarantee that it's going to be the number one pick. But I would do everything I can to maintain that pick going forward, because they're going to need somebody to build around eventually. So whatever it takes to keep LeBron number one, and that's a conversation that Kobe Altman, and again, you talk about a tough situation for a first-year GM and a young head coach who's done a really good job in his initial years, Tyronn Lue. So, but whatever is wrong is not a simple fix, dog. They have to change a lot of things with that franchise right now.
They do. Sure. Now, at the end of the day, do you think, we've gone through this a million times, he loves the drama, so it's all about him. But at the end of the day, do you think LeBron will leave?
If they continue to play the way they're playing now, I could see him leaving. But no, I just think Akron and home and all that, I think he stays there. I think he feels with him there and some of the pieces that are still in place that they can get it sorted out. You're talking a team that's been in the finals. He's what he's done the last 7 years or 8 years, whatever his run is, and what that run is there. No, I think when it's all said and done, he stays.
All right, interesting. PJ doing a great job here. We needed to do this today. You haven't done the NBA for a long time. Little transition off the football. Let's do Porzingis. Let's go from the one end in the East to the other end. They were struggling anyway. They were not going to make the playoffs this year. I feel bad for Hornacek. He's in a tricky spot. But they lose Porzingis now. They're almost for the better part of 2 years. He's not going to play, we know, good part of next year. He's very good. He's not great. And then they trade Herman Gomez today, the kid who's got a lot of ability but couldn't get off the bench, goes to Charlotte. I hope they keep Hornacek. I don't know if they will. The Knicks are a mess. They bring in Hardaway now. He can't play. He's been terrible. The Knicks are a very tricky spot. They have a lottery pick, which will help. What's your take on the Knicks? And how about this injury with Porzingis last night? Let me hear PJ Carlesimo's thoughts on that.
I'm a huge Porzingis fan. That's a no-brainer. Anybody in the league would love to have him. I hear what you're saying. He's not, first-team All-NBA yet, but he very well could be in the future. Hopefully he comes back from this. They weren't going anywhere short-term anyhow. It's still a horrendous injury. I'm surprised by the Hernan Gomez. I know there's some good thought that went behind it. Frankly, I liked him I wouldn't say I wouldn't have moved him. Maybe it's duplication. I don't know, but I liked him. I think he's a nice piece on the team. It's just been dog. I mean, one mistake after the other. This year, I think if we had said prior to this, Jeff's not done a good job. I think he's done an excellent job. I think they're a dramatically improved team. It's much nicer, I think, going in the Garden and seeing this team play the way they had been playing earlier in the year. But New York is one of those franchises, and as much as everybody says the rhetoric, we want to win it, they are one that it doesn't matter. Short of winning a championship, nothing else matters. So they still need many, many moves to get to that level. That New York City, as you well know, and the Knicks franchise is not about getting better and making the playoffs and stuff like that. It's about winning a championship. So what they're going to do, Jeff Hornacek's done a very good job. He should certainly, I think, be rewarded, and he should be there. And as I said, it's not like, where are they going next year? Or, so I don't think as horrific as that injury is, I think it's the other pieces that they can put around him is what's more important to build that franchise back up.
All right, so you think Hornacek will stay here based on the injury and everything else?
No, I don't know. I have no clue what they're thinking, but I think he deserves to. Let's put it that way. I think the job he's done, I think he deserves to be there.
All right.
I really like what he's done.
All right, that's two things. Three things. Why is this? I don't think they're any different myself. Maybe a little more offense from the perimeter. I still think they're going to lose when push comes to shove. Why, if I want to go the other way, why would the Raptors be a potential finals team this year compared to the previous couple?
Well, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of the Raptors. I worked there for an assistant for 1 year with Jay Triano. But I'm tired of saying this is the year they break through. I've said that 2 years running. I think it's on Valanciunas. Don't get me wrong. I like him. I think he's a good player. If Lowry's healthy and playing, I think they're better. I think they're deeper. I think they've got more things. I think they do. This could be the year that they break through. But to give Boston credit, they kept 4 guys from last year, dog. That blows my mind. They win 53 games last year. They kept 4 players from last year. And if anything, they're better, and that's with the Gordon Hayward injury the first day. So I respect enormously what Danny Ainge and Brad Stevens have done. It's both of them. It's the moves they make. We talk about other franchises. What are they going to do in Cleveland? What's New York been doing for how many years? Look at the moves that Ainge has made, and also look at the job that Brad Stevens has done. I'm a Toronto believer. I think it's going to be a great Eastern Conference. Right now, to me, it's those two. But Scotty seems to have Washington playing amazingly without John Wall. I can't figure that one out either. What's going on behind the scenes there? How can they play better without John Wall? And is there a chance that Cleveland gets it together? Because they're like, what is it, the vampire or something? You don't put a stake through their heart. They still scare me. No one's going to want any part of them. I don't care how badly they're playing.
I agree. And they
be entertaining, but to me right now, clearly the best team is Boston, and Toronto's right there with them.
Yeah, I agree. I got to see Cleveland lose. They last year they won it, and I didn't have the home court. All right, the last thing in the East, PJ Carlesimo. I understand why he did it. I read the quotes. I thought it was the right move. We'll have to wait and see if it works itself out. They've played better lately. What was your take on the Pistons move getting Blake Griffin?
Unbelievable move. They had lost 8 straight. Blake Griffin is a hell of a player. Again, until you coach a guy, until you're there with him, and the people in L.A., they just unfortunately they came to the conclusion that it wasn't working. Lose Chris Paul and Blake Griffin and J.J. Redick. That nucleus. I'd like to have a nucleus like DeAndre Jordan, Blake Griffin, Chris Paul, J.J. Redick, and 3 of them are gone now. And they're trying to get rid of the 4th, and they haven't been able to do it. It's remarkable. I think it's a tremendous pickup for Detroit. I think it gets them back in the mix for sure. I think it's a really good move for Stan Van Gundy, and I think for the most part, it's different because he's the czar. He runs the whole thing. But most coaches, most teams, I think it's about winning getting as good as you can as quickly as you can, because people just don't have patience. Fans don't want to have patience, and owners don't want to have patience. So I think it's a great move by Detroit.
You do. Now, he has not won in the playoffs, and he can be moody. You still believe in Griffin as a big-time player here?
Absolutely. He's still one of the better players in the league. The criticisms are valid. The injury, what concerns me more about Blake are the injuries than the playoff record. I'm more concerned with that. But in terms of making a team better, a team that's struggling a little bit, we're struggling a lot at that point. My God, that's a tremendous acquisition. There aren't a lot of guys you can pick up that dramatically improve your team. He dramatically improves that team.
All right, boy, you're doing an excellent job. I knew you would. I needed a recap, and you're giving it to us. All right, that's the. I'll get back to Jason Kidd in a minute. Let's do the West for a sec. I never trust them in a big game. I don't like their defense in a big game. And quite frankly, I'm not a big believer in Harden with the chips on the line. I've seen it too many times. But they are 39-13. They have beaten Golden State. They might get the best record in the sport, which you give them home court. Maybe the Rockets, so they have Paul sitting there, another guy who never wins. But I know he's great, but, never been to a conference final. Could this be the year that the Rockets actually maybe get to a conference final in the Western Conference? Yes,
could be. Our old buddy from New York, Mike D'Antoni's doing not a good job, doing a great job. I'm with you. Is James Harden a great player without question? But dog, I did that Game 6 last year.
He didn't show up. That was
Antonio in Houston. I'm still in shock. Walking out, I was absolutely baffled the year they had that they could go belly up the way they did in that game last year. So that's still sitting in the back of my head, and that makes me really hesitant to say they're going to get it done. They're dramatically better. Obviously, CP, I think the roster moves. It's a better roster. They are better defensively, which isn't saying a lot, but they're better defensively than they were. And they've proven it. They've played very well against the good teams, Golden State included. Would I bet against them? Would I bet them against Golden State? Absolutely not. But could it happen this year? Yes. They're a much better team. I think this, maybe. But they, like as you said, they've got to show me.
Well, forget beating the Warriors. I don't completely trust them against the other teams that might be good, especially the Spurs in that. Now, the West is not good.
I've got the Spurs. I'm in Phoenix right now. Spurs are playing Phoenix tonight. I'm actually here to do the college game, Arizona State and USC, but I've got the Spurs Warriors on Saturday. If Kawhi doesn't come back healthy, the Spurs aren't going anywhere. I mean, they're doing it with mirrors, dog. I don't know how they have. I think they still have the third best record in the West. I don't know how they're doing it. LA's playing great. I understand that. Manu's playing unbelievable. I don't know what magic elixir he's drinking or whatever, but he's playing real best he's played, I think, in a couple of years. But they can't get it done without Kawhi playing at the level he was playing, which was one of the best three players in the league. They're not going to be in the mix with those other two. I still think, hate to say it, but I'm not sure they can beat Houston without Kawhi.
Well, I don't think they can either. Now, let's do him for a sec. I mean, he did hear, and you know that organization better than anybody in sports. You were there forever. You did hear a little disconnect with the Leonard on the franchise. I don't know what that exactly was about. It doesn't. I didn't think this injury was this serious. He played 10 games? I mean, he's barely played. What is up with him? What is the health issue? Does Pop are they still connected? They Pop in the Pop him in the organization?
Yeah, no, I think he is. I think there's a lot of frustration on both sides, and I think it's medical frustration, and not with their doctors. Their doctors are great. They've been there for the longest time. I just think it's frustration. Not sure. I don't think they're sure. With the injury, and now you had the calf. Now you've got evidently some kind of slight tear in the shoulder. I've not been with them. I will be with them Friday, Saturday in the Bay Area. Get a chance to talk to Pop and see Kawhi and the whole deal. So I don't know, honestly. I don't know much more about it because I haven't seen him. I've been doing a lot of college, and now that football's over, I'm going to do a ton for ESPN Radio going forward, a lot of NBA. But I think they genuinely don't know. I think that's the frustration. I think Kawhi is frustrated. I think the team is. I don't want to say the team is frustrated, but they want to get him healthy because they know how much he means to the team. But it's for whatever reason they've been unable to do it. They never dreamt it would be this long, and he would miss as many games as he had. So I don't know the answer, and I think, unfortunately, I don't think they know the answer.
All right, so we don't know. We'll put them aside for a sec. I know they've lost 3 out of 4, and Draymond Green drives me crazy. I've had enough of him. He's hard to root for, PJ. He's hard to root. I'm sorry.
I'm with you.
Oh, is he hard to root for?
I had them in Sacramento last week. I like the guy. I hate the stuff, the last night, the soft touch, all that. I agree with you. Couldn't agree with you more.
Oh, I can't take it.
When he just plays, he's excellent. But the baggage you get with it, is it worth it? It has been so far. Steve Kerr's the only one that can answer that.
Well, they did cost him a championship. I mean, don't forget that. Now, 2 years ago.
No, believe me, I have not.
All right. Well, how about them at 41-12? Is there anything I need to be concerned about if I was watching Golden State right now as far as them? Now, they may not go, basically losing one playoff game this year, so maybe they can lose an extra couple games. I'll buy that. But is there anything that I would need to be concerned about if I'm just catching up on Golden State right now?
Well, the same. The challenge. The same coach. It's so tough for Steve. I was with him for 2 days in Sacramento last weekend. Just the same coach saying the same things to the same players. It just gets old. It's really hard to be creative and to continue to motivate guys. It's really difficult for them to stay motivated when they've accomplished what they've accomplished. But what are they right now? They're still the best team in the league. I agree with you. They're not as dominant. They're as much a victim or maybe more than any other team limping into the All-Star break. I mean, those guys just need to get away for a couple days and then refocus for the final push. Do they end up with the number 1 record? I don't know. I think probably. But to me, the motivation is the first thing. They found a way to do it. I think Steve does a great job. I think they'll find a way through that. If they stay healthy, they're still the best team. Their problems are the same two they've had from day one with this team together. When they turn it over, they're vulnerable, and if you can beat them up on the glass. But 4 out of 7, you got to beat them. No, I just don't see it happening. They're still the best. They're the best team.
Who is more dangerous in a 7-game series, and they're about the same, Minnesota or OKC? OKC. Because they can score. Okay.
Yeah, and because of Westbrook, and they got those guys. They got 3 major honchos. I love the young guys in Minnesota. I love the job that Tibbs has done, but they haven't bought into his defense yet. They're a poor defensive team. They're not a good defensive team. I love Jimmy Butler, but I mean, come on, Russell Westbrook, Paul George, and Melo's your third option. Just when it grinds down to playoffs and experience matters, and guys that have been there before, it's hard to go against OKC.
All right, number 2, Jason Kidd. Why did Milwaukee fire him?
I don't know. Baffles me. I thought he was doing a good job.
I know they're winning more. They're winning more games now. They're winning more games. I understand that.
But that happens a lot. And Joe Prunty's my guy. Joe and I worked together for 5 years. I think Joe's doing a great job. Sean Sweeney, who was with him, was with us with the Nets. They're doing a great job. But players do that. First of all, they fired him when it was a real weak schedule. So they had 3 or 4, hand-me games to begin with. And secondly, the players sometimes step up and play at a level they weren't playing for the coach, like sending a message, hey, it wasn't our fault, it was his fault. Something was going on with ownership. The reason that Jay got there was the relationship he had with the owner, and he tried the power struggle in Brooklyn, and it didn't work with Billy King, and Prokhorov went the other way. And somehow that relationship soured with him in the front office. I don't know what went wrong. You got a new general manager. It's strange what happened. Remember John Hammond last year, and then all of a sudden John goes down to Orlando. So clearly it was, to me, more the relationship than what was going on the floor. But I don't know that. Maybe it was, who knows, Giannis, the players didn't care for him. I thought Jay did a good job. I really did.
All right. The most disappointing team in the NBA right now has been who, first half?
Oh boy!
I thought Charlotte would. Well, forget the Cavs. We get that.
Yeah.
I thought Charlotte would be better, 23-30. I thought Philadelphia would be better, more than a game over 500. Who is the most disappointing team?
See, I think Philly's doing well with the youth they have. I think Philly's fine. I definitely wouldn't say Philly. Steve Clifford being sick for a while, that hurt Charlotte. I haven't been a big Charlotte believer. I'm trying to think of other people. There's somebody in the West it's underachieving.
Is Utah? They get the kid playing great. Is Utah? And they're playing well right now, but should they be better than 3 games under 500?
Nah, not without Gordon. Gordon was so important for them. And Quinn's got him playing good right now. I don't think so. I don't know who it would be. I mean, nobody actually. Wow, interesting. Well, no, wait, hold on now. Clear cut.
Cleveland. We know Cleveland.
Yeah.
All right, now, I haven't seen him that much. Give me a little rundown on Lonzo Ball.
Well, first of all, I feel terrible for the kid. The father just puts him in a horrendous situation. He was not a good college player. He was an excellent college player. He makes the team better. Players like playing with him. They run the floor. He gets them the ball. He's a very good passer. He's an above-average defender. I just had them Sunday in Oklahoma. They beat the Thunder Sunday afternoon. Luke was telling me how impressed he was with his defense. He's a much better defender than they anticipated, particularly for a rookie playing that position. Maybe the hardest position in the league to defend. You look at the guards he's got to play against. Not a bad shooter, a terrible shooter. Somehow they got to do something about the shot. But I think he's a very good player. Is only going to get better. Somehow they got to get his shot to improve. But just what he does on the floor, running a team, getting the ball to open people, and his defense, and the fact that players like playing with him so much. He's handled the situation with his father, I think, very, very well. But I just wish the father would just let him play and keep his mouth shut.
Did you have a problem? I didn't like the quote. He buried Walton when the father said the team hates playing for him, and it wasn't like Lonzo went to Walton's support. He was very lukewarm.
Yeah, it's hard. Like when you're not. I agree with you. I didn't like the way it sounded anyhow, but somehow, especially for a rookie, somehow things aren't intended the way they come out. So yeah, I was disappointed too, but I think he's played for Luke. I think Luke's done a very good job. I wish the quotes were a little different, but it's unusual in the NBA to have a kid caught between his father and his coach. So it was a difficult situation. The LA people like him. Luke genuinely likes him. So I'll give him a pass on that. I wish he had done something, but to give him his due, he really has not gone against his father. He really has not. So that's a tough situation. I think he will continue to play well for Luke. I really do.
All right, and if Cousins did not get hurt and they were playing well, how dangerous would the Pelicans have been? Answer this for my kid who loves the Pels. If he did not get hurt, how dangerous would New Orleans have been?
Not. They're still in the West, are they not?
Oh, I see. Okay, gotcha. Well, they would have made the playoffs. They're going to be in the playoffs, but I understand.
Yeah, I think I think they would have been in the playoffs. I think they still might, but no way.
Even with Davis even with David, they would not have won a round with the two of them.
I don't think so.
Really? Wow.
I don't. There's just too many better teams. I think it's too big a jump to go from where they were to get there. Now, again, with those two, the way they were playing would have been interesting, but I'm not a New Orleans believer.
Wow. And I'll tell you right now, who's a hell of a player? And I've been watching him a lot because I like Sacramento. I took him as an over. That De'Aaron Fox is a hell of a basketball player. He is going to...
he's lightning. Yeah, I like him. I really do.
He's going to be an all-star. He's going to be an all-star for a long time. That kid and he loves to play. That kid's going to have a player.
But the problem, he's at the wrong position. That's a position where Damian Lillard couldn't make the all-star for a couple of years. He's going to have to be patient a little bit because that point guard position is just off the charts in the West. But I agree with you. I think he's going to be a special player. Again, I'd love to see him shoot it a little more reliably. He's a better shooter than Lonzo, but he's still got a ways to go to really be a reliable shooter.
Enjoy on this Arizona kid is this good a player, this freshman, huh?
Unbelievable, dog. Unbelievable.
I mean, he's franchise changing good.
Yes. Maybe
Wow.
not day one. It's hard for a rookie, but yeah, he's breathtaking. He does it all. He's really special, and he seems to be a delightful kid. I've had him a couple times. I've had a lot of Pac-12 games, and he's getting great coaching from Sean Miller. Love his attitude. Love everything about him.
I mean, he's not Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, is he? I mean, he's not that good.
No, there's only one. No, there's only one of those. But he's very, very good.
All right.
Very, very good.
One football question for the great Carlesimo, because PJ, don't forget, he knew the Lombardis. So if you know the Lombardis, that's all you need to know. This is a guy that had dinner with Vince, because his father, Lombardi, and Vince and his dad were close. So PJ knows. What in the world, and we've had a lot of questions on it, let's get your thoughts. Why do you think Belichick, who is the closest thing to Lombardi that we have, why did Belichick not play Malcolm Butler on Sunday afternoon?
Whatever the rule was. I don't know did it come out yet what the rule was?
Well, he claims, now Butler claims there was no rule involved. Now, who knows? And the Patriots have not made it clear, so maybe it was actually from a playing standpoint. Can you put your finger on that for me?
It's hard to believe what's the stat? He played 97% of the defensive snaps all year. It's hard to believe that after all that they came to the conclusion that he wasn't playing well enough. I got to think it was something else, and I got to, wrong. Where I come down, dog. I always come down on the side of coaches. I haven't seen it yet. I heard that Bill and Bill special. With
it's great. It was excellent. Very, very good. Very good. Very good.
I got to go with Belichick. I trust him. If I'm Robert Kraft, I'm saying, hey. Maybe I don't always understand what he does, but I like his record, and I got to go with him.
And I had Jerry
I'm against Butler anyhow, dog. I live in Seattle. I haven't forgiven Butler for a couple of years ago.
That's a good. And I had Jerry Kramer on the other day, PJ, and I'm glad he made the Hall of Fame. And I asked him about Lombardi, and he said there was a running back coach for Green Bay. I forget his name right now. I'll think of it in a second. Who asked Vince Christmas Eve. He hadn't done any Christmas shopping yet. If he can cut out quickly in the afternoon to go Christmas shopping, Christmas Eve. And Lombardi said, it was Red something. I forget his last name. Red Cochran, I believe. What are you, crazy? What do you want to play, Santa Claus or coach football? Absolutely not. Stay here. How about that?
That's his Fordham upbringing.
Speak to you soon, PJ. Always a pleasure to talk. Keep it going, pal.
All right, dog, you too. Take it easy.
Very good. PJ did a great job there in the NBA. That's the NBA.
That's not that silly college where you're worried about this kid from Arizona.
Or that's not Evan Cohen breaking down the Red Cochran. Thank you. That's not Evan breaking down the Memphis salary cap and trying to figure out what's going on with
That's
his
correct.
teams.
You said it.
That's basketball.
That's what we need right there.
You love to second that. Here's Mr. Torrey here on Mad Dog Unleashed.
Mad Dog Sports Radio.